Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. It's not just a very special episode because all three of us are on. DJ's in Australia. He's just spent some time in Melbourne, but this is it's kind of crazy. We are recording at about 12-ish hours after India's historic win over Pakistan. And I don't think, Varun, let me start with you. We have a full house today. I've just jumped right in. I don't think I could have recorded straight after the show. I know there's a lot of podcasts, YouTubers who recorded immediately. I think my heart rate was genuinely just way too high. I don't know what I would have said if we started recording. Like, I'm already getting excited talking about the episode again. How are you feeling, man?
It's like I think I had lost my voice, so I'm really glad we took a decision not to reply after because I was just sitting and screaming at the TV. But yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us this week. It is Diwali. We are recording on Diwali morning. So firstly, happy Diwali to everyone. For those of you who don't know what is Diwali, Diwali is a day where the king returns to rule over his kingdom. He makes his way back on the eve of Diwali. And that's what we saw last night. King Kohli came back to rule the world of cricket, and all of us were just his subjects watching. I have goosebumps as I'm saying this. Many people had written him off. Many people were like, Kohli should not even be in this squad. The three of us, especially, man, like we just backed him. We knew what he's capable of. Like for the last 6 years, we've just lived on that Mohali, Australia innings. Today, I'm happy to say my YouTube will have a second highlights reel that I search for. It was just incredible, and we're going to break it down. We're going to break it down for all of you. But yes, the king has returned.
DJ, I can see you smiling and get fired up. You've been posting some clips. I mean, you just give us the quick summary before we double click on everything. And by the way, the World Cup has started. We know who's qualified, but it all seems secondary right now. We'll try to cover it in the last 2 or 3 minutes of the show, the rest of the matches. But DJ, like you were at the ground, man. You were at the G, the whatever it's called, the MCG. You had a great view. I can't 90,293 or something is the number I've heard. Fans in attendance. And what you could hear the crowd 2 kilometers away, apparently. Just tell us quickly what that feeling was like.
I mean, I know we do words on the show, right? Like we're good with words. That's why we just talk. But sometimes there's just an experience that you can't describe in words. It was genuinely surreal. From the moment you walk up to the MCG and see the kind of towers rising up, and then you get in, and then you see the sheer size of that ground, and then the noise. Like my Apple Watch was telling me that these levels of noise were unsafe. And then talk about a stage. It's a World Cup. It's India and Pakistan, arch rivals. I mean, we talk about Ashes and all of that stuff, but nothing gets bigger than that. And it's the context, Varun, you've laid it out with Kohli being out of form. And I was sitting in the Shane Warne stand, and it was genuinely a privilege and a delight to be sitting in the Shane Warne stand while another great of the game bent the match to his own will. And it was just, I've been at the World Cup final in 2011, and of course, MSD did that in its own cool, calm, clinical way. And that was celebrated. But it was a bit, it was Sri Lanka, and we'd won the World Cup after 28 years. So that was celebrated. But this was pure emotion. It was, as you said, your heart rate. I don't know. I had to actually just calm myself down a number of times. I was jumping up. I was up one moment. I was down the next moment. We looked like we were out for the count of 31 for 4. Then we were back in, and then DK ran, and then Ashwin left that wide. Oh my! There are no words sometimes, and there are just no words.
Right. DJ's getting a little bit ahead of himself. We have so much to cover, a lot to get into. So it's hard. As much as I want to talk about the last, call it 8 balls of the match, we're going to just kind of build up to how we got there. Okay. So we're going to talk about India versus Pakistan. Varun, let me first ask you. I want to quickly just talk about India's playing 11, but really, to be honest, no surprises in the top 7. So really, my question is Arshdeep, Shami, Bhuvi, and then Ravichandran Ashwin. How did you feel about that kind of going in, right? So obviously the choice not to play Herschel, the choice not to play Chahal. How are you feeling like before the match even started when you heard about the 11?
Yeah, so I was initially shocked, but as I digested it, I felt like this was really our best 11. The thing with Harshal for me is that he's just not been at the top of his game. Now I don't know what has gone wrong. I don't know what's happening, but he may need a little bit more time. I think he's invaluable, but when you have an Arshdeep and a Bhuvi with experience, and then Shami who just seems to bowl four Yorkers at the end of every over, uh, I think they just went in with their best team. What is surprising for me is just India's spinners, man. I think even if Chahal was playing, you kind of get the feeling that for the first time in a very long time, we are walking in and we're probably not. We're probably a team that doesn't even sit in the top five teams in terms of the spinners, right? You've got even somebody like a UAE has got a better spin bowler than India has. So that has been kind of eating up at me. Like just that fact that our spin is a little bit weak, but overall not a bad call. And it also, this team that they selected bats deep, right? So that was the other thing for me.
Yeah, definitely batting depth as you think about the just the selection in theory, Akshar, Hardik, etc., and then Ashwin, Bhuvi. DJ, let me come to you about with the start, right? You could argue it almost a dream start for India, right? Basically call it a maiden over. It wasn't quite a maiden because Bhuvi bowled one wide, and then Arshdeep comes in. For some reason, looked unplayable despite being consistently at about 128. It looked like, at least for those of us watching from home, it just looked unplayable. Gets Babar Azam, one of the, I don't remember the ranking. I think he's the top ranked batter still. Gets him plumb with the beautiful, just this beautiful shape. And so Pakistan is sitting there at 1 for 1 after 7 balls in the match. And a couple of overs later, again, the man Arshdeep gets Mohammad Rizwan, who has also been at the top of his game. And all the previews, including ours, basically said for Team Pakistan, if Babar and Rizwan do great, they look unbelievable. If they don't, they don't. And so you sitting there in the crowd, 15 for 2. Varun jokes a lot about 15 for 3, and we will talk about India's batting later. But Pakistan at 15 for 2 in 4 overs, that's a dream start for India, right?
It was incredible. And after the shit, frankly, that Arshdeep got it for dropping that catch in the last Pakistan game, this was just beautiful. It was like cricketing karma coming back. He bowled those two beautiful deliveries. It could have been 15 for 3. I mean, we're going to talk a lot about Kohli, but he missed what should have been a fairly straightforward run out for his standard of Shan Masood, right? And I mean, the noise had already kicked off. The Indian fans were delighted. Remember, we were 152 for no loss the last time Babar and Rizwan played against us in the T20 World Cup. So getting their openers out was massive, massive. And it felt like a little bit like they were playing an ODI game at that stage. The Indian bowlers looked unplayable, and Shami had not even kicked off at that point, right? He hadn't even come into the attack.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely right. And I think interesting to see, Varun, in case you're watching some of the comments, it's nice to see we have some comments coming in where people are reacting very fondly to your Kohli Diwali note. So thanks to Nikhil for sending that comment in. But Varun, let's quickly talk the middle overs, right? 15 for 2, you think the team's going to be reeling. Shami comes in, Hardik comes in starting to bowl. We've talked a lot about the 6 bowler strategy, but really Pakistan's inning came down to Shan Masood, who came batted at 3. The choice to send Iftikhar up at 4, he typically bats at 5, sometimes a little later. 11 overs in, 70 for 2. These two are building a decent partnership. And for the first time, and what turned out to be the only time, Rohit gives the ball to Akshar Patel. Now, Akshar is in the team arguably as a bowler who can bat some. Ends up going for 21 runs. Was that the game-changing moment of the match? Realizing Akshar is not going to get the ball again, and suddenly they're at 91 for 2 in 12, seeing line of sight to 150 plus?
Yeah, that was 21 runs of an over is in the middle overs is just phenomenal. So it for me, the way I just described this is that I'm actually quite happy that the middle order did well from a Pakistan perspective, because a lot of us who watch cricket just talk about Babar and Rizwan, right? We don't know the stats of the middle order. We don't know what they can do. And they had to step up in arguably one of the biggest games of their life, right? So I give them a lot of credit for that. It was like professionalism. They chose which over, which bowler to target, and they really went after that. They both made 50s. They both powered through the middle overs, right? And slowly, as Indian fans, we've seen this happen many times. Even despite a good start, the game can just slip away from you between in an ODI between overs 15 and 35, in a T20 between over 6 and 15, and the game was slipping. And in our last episode, I think Jared had mentioned that this is a 160 World Cup, and that always means 160 is going to be tough. Ultimately, Pakistan got there, right? 160, and when they got 160, I was watching with friends. We all kind of stood up and said, "Well, this is not going to be easy." So hats off to them. They did a fantastic job and they recovered without their top two. Remember that Pakistan openers have contributed the most in terms of runs versus the entire team. 50% of runs have been contributed by Pakistan openers. The next best is like 40 or 35. So absolutely huge.
Yeah, great stat. And I think good credit to their number 3 and 4 for both making half centuries. I think 159, a little bit of a seesaw, quiet in some overs. They targeted Akshar beautifully. DJ, at the end of the day, we're going to come to the batting, but really quick, Arshdeep, 3 wickets at a pretty decent economy rate. I don't have it in front of me. I think he was 3 for 32. Hardik ended up coming back because by the time in the 11th over, he didn't have any, and then he picked up 3 wickets later. Pretty happy with the quicks overall. Shami looked pretty good for 1 for 25, Bhuvi 1 for 22. Like overall, pretty decent performance by India's quicks, right?
Yeah, it was great. I mean, the conditions helped them, but they used the conditions well and they bowled well. I was a little bit annoyed by Bhuvi on that last ball, to be honest. There was no need for him to shy at the stumps. And in games like this, those are the small margins, right? If we'd lost this game by 1 run, that last overthrow after DK missed the stumps as well would have really cost us. I mean, we could have had 2 runs less to chase. But
we
I mean,
had
India need to
Ashwin.
work on all of that
There was
stuff.
no worry about 1 run here or there. We had Ashwin at
Yeah,
the
I
crease.
mean,
But
it was brilliant, brilliant.
all right, I'm jumping ahead. But here, let's talk about India's batting. Varun, I have to come to you to start, right? First ball of India's chase, and you guys have been naysayers about KL Rahul, as a lot of people have. To be honest, I was the one who thought, which feels stupid now, but I was the one who said he's going to be India's X factor for the tournament. So clearly, we could all be wrong at times. First ball, he kind of lobs it back, and it just falls short of a return catch to Shaheen. And you're thinking, okay, he looks a little iffy. Second ball of the match, he gets an inside edge, doesn't look good. And then whatever 10 balls later, I feel like I don't have the numbers. DJ has better memory than me, but seeing Rahul kind of play on, right, it just kind of roll off the face of the bat, bounce onto his wicket. That was painful, right? Like, Varun, what were you going through at 7 for 1 after 11 balls of the match?
Well, I don't know. I captained him in my fantasy because I listened to the Edges and
Same.
Sledges World Cup preview, and one of the panelists on the preview said he's going to be the X Factor. So I went and captained him. What is this guy doing, man? He's just like, it's just mad, okay? Because everyone's just like, oh, great, we'll go to see him in Netherlands. He'll score 80 of like 35 balls, and then he'll play the following game. What is KL Rahul doing? I don't know. What are the Indian openers doing? I have no idea. You got to get up and move on from just playing bilaterals and being like the kings there. There was a point that frustrated me, and it was actually not KL Rahul, it was actually Rohit Sharma. There was a ball that was outside the off stump, fairly wide, ready to be hit for a cover drive. And in any other situation, Rohit Sharma would have put that for 4. He dead batted it like he was playing one tip, one hand, like he just wanted to put the ball down so that he doesn't get out. You cannot come in with that mindset. It's okay if you get an in-swinging Yorker and you get out, it's okay. But you can't come in with this mindset of just dead batting it and just not wanting to give up your wicket and still losing your wicket. If you're dead batted it and you were like 4 overs, 10 or 12 for 0, fine. Maybe some strategy you thought of worked, but you weren't. I don't know. It was just very frustrating. I'm getting really, really tired of thinking about these Indian openers and why they're not scoring.
I mean, yeah, DJ, we joke about it a little on the show, and probably as a coping mechanism, honestly, about 15 for 3. And who do you want to bat at number 5 when your team is at 15 for 3? And just because it's happened, but it just continues to happen to us in big World Cup matches. Now, this isn't a knockout match yet, but it was India versus Pakistan. It was our first match of the tournament. So, 6, 7 balls after Rahul plays on, Rohit gets out. And then you still think, okay, Kohli and Sky looks looks good. This guy just looks like his fluid self for 8 or 9 balls, however many he lasts, and then also just gets out, right? Like also nicks one to the back, but to the keeper. And so you're sitting there, and I'm getting ahead a little, but you're sitting there at 26 for 3 it is, and the decision is made to promote Akshar Patel. I can see it on paper, lefty, different, etc. And of course, then probably an arguably slightly controversial run-out decision, but Babar Azam throws the stumps. It's not 100% clear whether the ball breaks the wicket or the keeper's gloves do, but needless to say, 31 for 4 after 6.1 overs. Like that is, we talked about dream start for India. This is the nightmare start for Team India with the bat, right?
Man, I'm getting trauma thinking about this again because being at the ground, like we outnumber the Pakistani fans, right? In most cases. Even there were a few there yesterday. But when they celebrate, I mean, we celebrate loudly. They celebrate violently with action. So they're dancing in front of you. They're like, it was just when that run out went down, because it was touch and go, as you say as well. But I don't want to focus on that. I want Rahul has not performed in any big matches for me. And I think I've had this theory before as well. That mode of dismissal, getting bold off an inside edge, I'm just done with it. I'm just so. And it was a nothing tentative, nervous. Bro, he's got a lot of talent. Don't get me wrong. I like the guy, bats really well. He scored hundreds in Test cricket. But when the big match comes around, the semi-final of the World Cup, the last T20 World Cup game against Pakistan, this game again, it's that exact same way of getting out. And we've just had a comment in as well with Rahul score 100 against the Netherlands. He's due for one. Bro, I'm glad we're playing the Netherlands next. And no, we're not playing Sri Lanka, because the way the round one turned out was Sri Lanka finished top and Netherlands finished second. So we're going to play Netherlands. But that allows us to play punt at the top of the order. Please, Rahul Dravid, listen to us and play punt. You're sending Akshar Patel in because you don't have left-handers. You don't have a X factor. I'm a big fan of Rahul, but he does not perform. So if we were playing Sri Lanka, we would have probably gone with the safer approach. Let's keep the same 11. You're playing Netherlands. You have the opportunity. Put Pant in. No other team in the world would drop Rishabh Pant from their playing 11 in Australia. It is a bonkers idea. And Rahul's getting back in form, but guys, we need to play him. Please, please, please.
Isn't he the vice captain though?
Yeah, but we dropped our vice captain before. Rahani's been dropped, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
all. It's
You
just,
have to drop him,
it was
man.
so
And you have to.
disappointing to see again and again. It just happens over and over again. It's just, there's a mental thing there, I think. I don't know.
Anyway, this is not, no matter what DJ tries to say, this is not a KL Rahul episode. And the disappointing, frustrating part about having to host this episode is that I had to go through the Pakistan innings and then I had to go through the 31 for 4. But from this minute on, this episode is what it should have been all along, which is nothing but a tribute to the greatest of all time, the king himself, Virat Kohli. Varun, let's talk about this a little bit, right? So you're sitting there, when that fourth wicket falls, Kohli's batting on like 5 of 9 and potentially probably is to blame for the run out, right? Like he sold Akshar down the pitch a little bit. So you're now sitting there. And I gotta try to manage my hyperbole a little bit, but unquestionably the greatest architect of chases in limited over format, more in ODIs, right? But and you're sitting there saying, all right, this fourth guy got out. Now Hardik Pandya is walking out. We have to deal with not only making another 130 odd runs, but surviving the next 14, 15 overs, right? Clearly the approach at that point was the MS Dhoni school of thought, if you will. DJ, you'd be proud of me for bringing him up. But it was just, hey, we got to take it deep, right? Not get out. So between when Akshar got out and call it the 11th over, right? 54 for 4 after 11 overs. Let's be honest. We were all getting pretty frustrated, right? Kohli's 15 off 23. I think he ended up being 22 off 26, 27 off 28. So he's still running at a run a ball after almost 30 balls. What is the thought process? What is the logic? How are you feeling at that point? I know you were watching it with people too.
Yeah, we were getting a little bit frustrated because what happened is that if you looked at the Indian innings, the first 4 of 6 overs was tough to play. And the minute Bhuvi came in with that third over, suddenly the swing stopped, right? So you knew that this was a 4 to 6 over issue. Now, the damage happened in the first 4 to 6, but you kind of thought it's going to get easier now, right? And you're going to have to start picking the bowlers to target and start making a few more runs. But yes, you're also 4 down, right? So there's a big difference in being 2 down at that stage versus 4 down. And so, Ashwin, you're right. At the end of the 11th over, India were 54 for 4. Hardik Pandya was 13 of 15 and Virat Kohli 15 of 23. And in the post-match, there's two things quickly I want to say before we get into the whole thing. One, at that point, Virat Kohli said, I thought that I'm going to mess this up for the team when I looked at 15 for 23, because he's like, oh God, I'm going to mess this up again. And the second is the stat that you need to know before we go in for our break is that when Virat Kohli has remained not out for India at the end of the innings, there were 18 instances where this has happened. India has won 18 times. Let's leave you with that.
What a stat. We're going to take a quick break. We will be right back to live through the last 6 overs of this run chase. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast. If you are just joining us on YouTube, please give us a like and a subscribe. We are reliving the chase. Varun, I think, we talked the middle overs a little bit. 14 overs are up. Shadab Khan is bowled out. India is 90 for 4 in 14 overs, just ahead of a run of ball, behind the required run rate. 70 runs needed of 6 overs. I think there's 2 Naseem overs left.
We have to go back. We have to go back to the 12th over.
Okay, yeah, we can start there then. Walk us through that. Walk us through the 12th over,
All
which
right,
interestingly was Akshar Patel's over, right? So the 12th
that's
over
what I was going to say. So let me start walking through the overs, and you guys just come in, okay? When you guys want to. So the 12th over starts 54 for 4. Akshar Patel equivalent over. You know that something big is going to happen. All of us are sitting on the edge of our seats. We're all trying to calculate, and we look at this Pakistan lineup, and we say they have only 5 bowlers. There's no 6th bowler. So Mohammad Nawaz needs to bowl his full quota of 4 overs. If they were to take them apart here, you're going to have 1 over later, which you can capitalize. Pandya first ball 6. Kohli fourth ball 6. Pandya sixth ball 6. 20 of the over, exactly same as Hardik, as Akshar Patel. India now 74 for 4. Suddenly the strike rates of the batsmen getting better. The confidence is getting better. What do you see in India's innings? Shami comes on straight after Akshar's over. What do you see in the Pakistan innings? Suddenly Shaheen Afridi is given the ball. He's back into the attack. That over, they managed only 1 boundary of Shaheen. Okay, so it was the right move. They pulled it back. End of the 13th over, India 83 for 4. Virat Kohli 28 of 29. Still strike rate below 100. Shadab Khan comes in, and I mean, guys, full credit to him. He finished at 4 overs 21 in this game. Only 1 boundary of that over. Struggling. Kohli and Pandya both ended up playing dots in that over. 90 for 4. Virat Kohli has now moved past 100, but the strike rate is about 102, 105, 34 of 33 balls. Naseem Shah comes in. 15th over. Again, as I'm looking in, only 1 boundary. By the way, guys, the required run rate is now creeping up 12, 10, 11, 12 runs and over. Only 1 boundary, 8 of the overs, still below the rate. At the end of 15 overs, 100 for 4, Kohli 42 of 37. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Haris Rauf, I think Pakistan's premier death over bowler and very, very, very good bowler, comes in the 16th over. And in that, I'm just counting. He gives 1 over with some, he gives 1 ball had 3 wides to it, and that kind of ruined that over. But otherwise, India managed to get only 6 runs off that over. In the 16th over, guys. At this point, the equation is 54 of the last 4 overs. Let me pause there to catch a breath. DJ, What were you thinking at the end of that with 4 overs to go, 54 needed?
So before that 12th over, Varun, that you mentioned, the crowd had gone very quiet before the 20 run over. The Indian crowd, which is pretty loud usually, went very quiet. Um, and I have to say, the only hope we had left at that point was Virat Kohli. Um, and if there was anyone who you'd want to accompany him in that situation was Hardik Pandya. So, in fact, rather than Kohli, we thought who would play kind of second fiddle to Pandya's big hitting. We thought Pandya would be the one taking us home in those circumstances, but he struggled. He struggled when they dug the ball in short. There was a lot of pace on offer, and so we started getting a bit stressed. There was a bit of light relief when some random guy ran onto the field to get an autograph, and he's been fined, I think, Varun, $9,928.15 or something like that. A very precise number, which I'm sure there's a good reason for that. But in the crowd, we started believing again, but the belief was that Pandya would do the big hitting with Kohli for support, because that those were the roles we'd assigned to them in our heads, right? If you think about it. So that's where I was at that point mentally.
Right. So 4 overs left, Varun, as you were saying, right? 54 of 24. The Pakistan think tank has one Haris, one Naseem, one Shaheen, and that one pending over from Muhammad Nawaz. You're thinking 54 from 24. If we can do a couple tight overs here, it may be game over before we need to use Nawaz. So I understand the think tank's goal. Naseem runs in, bowls a phenomenal over again. And by the way, Hardik, who's normally the cleanest striker of the ball, just can't seem to make great contact. He'd hit a couple sixes earlier, could not seem to make good contact. Full credit to the bowlers. So 54 of 24 becomes 48 of 18 at just 6 runs in that over from Naseem. You have 3 overs left. You have Haris or Rauf, one Shaheen, and then you have that Muhammad Nawaz over. They give the ball to Shaheen Shah Afridi. Okay? Barun. Virat at this point is on 46 or 42, just ahead of a run ball. Starts with a boundary. Puts some pressure on Shaheen, gets a wide, then picks up a double, gets another boundary, gets it down to 36 or 14. You can tell from the post-match and stuff that Kohli is doing this math, right? He's pacing it, saying, we know we're a little behind, but when do I need the boundaries and how do I put pressure, right? At the end of that Shaheen over, we got 17 off it because he got a boundary on the last ball too. So just as you feel like India's starting to fall out of reach, Kohli just keeps us just within reach, right?
Yeah, exactly. And arguably, this is where there's nothing wrong with Pakistan's strategy. Okay, they had to save Nawaz because they wanted to finish that game off. But the brilliance of Kohli, or the fact that they didn't bowl Nawaz, I think Nawaz would have gone for 17 runs, right? And then you've got Shaheen Shah Afridi bowling the last over. Very different pressure, very different ball game. Now, it was Kohli's brilliance that got them to take boundaries rather than sixes, because unless you're going to hit it behind the bowler's head, there's always a risk that you're going to get caught out. Kohli just, with all that experience, soaked in all the tension, and for him to hit 3 4s, knowing that Hardik is not connecting it, and knowing that he has to do it. Look, the Australia Mohali game we're talking about, I think the equation was 36 or 38 of 3 overs. This was 48 of
39
three
of 3.
overs. Yeah,
It's 39 of
this is
3.
48 of 3 overs. It's a different ball game, and yeah, man, it's just these little things, that mistake of not bowling Shaheen Shafridi in the last over.
So the
So
penultimate
two
over. Oh yeah,
things.
go ahead, DJ.
Sorry, I was just going to chip in quickly. Two things. The Pakistan fans in the crowd who were really high, they'd gone completely quiet. That is the effect that the presence of a Virat Kohli has, because they really rate Kohli. And so it was very strange. Even at 48 of 18, they were not celebrating, and there was no uh, feeling that they were going to win. They knew that this was game on because King Kohli was in the middle, right? And secondly, as you said, Varun, like Nawaz, there was no option. And if Shaheen or Naseem or Rauf had taken a wicket at that point, had got King Kohli out, that would have been the game for for Pakistan, right? So, I don't think Pakistan made a tactical error. They did the best they could, and they left. I don't know. 20, they would have hoped to have 25 for um, Nawaz to defend off the last over. They didn't have that, but I'm sure we'll come to that.
Right. So the penultimate over, right? Again, you could throw the ball to Nawaz, hope he doesn't give too many, and then leave the last for Harris. I think all cricketing knowledge would have said, give it to Harris Rauf, have him bowl it out, and give 25 plus for Nawaz to defend. He is on track for that. Bowls a brilliant first ball. Hardik can't get underneath it, gets a single. Second ball, actually, Kohli probably should have got more from it, right? Like it wasn't the best delivery, but it was a slower one. And interestingly, I'm sure DJ, you noticed this, but like loud, big thing in the crowd and stuff saying 100-run partnership, and it's like we're not celebrating a 100-run partnership right now. I mean, that's the algorithm obviously did it on purpose, but fine.
Is this the ball where Hardik refused the second? I don't know. I can't remember. Yeah, this was the ball. This is the time I got up and I started screaming at Hardik Pandya because I was like, "You're not able to hit it."
There was so much abuse in the crowd, and Pandya just standing there with his
yeah,
dude, give him two.
Yeah, just like Kohli is on form and you refuse the second run.
But could you guys hear the Kohli chant in the crowd on television?
It was unbelievable. So 29 needed of 10, and Hardik slashes big off of a short wide ball and misses it. 29 of 9. Again, the next ball, Hardik only gets a single. And so at this point, honestly, I try to be the optimist. I always think India's going to win every tournament. We're all 28 of 8. It's like under Russell territory. It doesn't feel like Virat Kohli territory to be 28 of 8. And then, Varun, let me come to you. He takes that one step back, which I will have dreams about this, but he takes that one step back and hits it dead straight down the ground over the bowler's head for 6. Gets in his head and then kind of shuffles across on the next ball and scoops it over, I guess it was deep mid-wicket-ish area for another 6. And 28 of 8 becomes 16 of 6. But talk to me about that 6. Like if you got up and screamed at Hardik, you were definitely on your feet screaming at the TV when Kohli hit that ball, right?
Do you want to know what I was screaming at before the 18.5 was bowled? Like I was standing there screaming at my TV saying, "Come on, Kohli, channel your inner AB de Villiers." I was just standing there screaming that. And the first ball, well, I don't know if AB could hit that good a shot straight down the ground, right? Like pick it up near your shoulder and hit it straight down. But the second one, I think Kohli heard me, man. That was an AV shot, like just kind of down the leg. And it was amazing because Kohli knew the only way I stay in this game is to hit 2 6s. And what does Virat Kohli do? He hits 2 6s. It is just, I don't know. That over, I have just seen it on Instagram Reels again and again and again. I couldn't sleep because I was just watching that.
I don't even think 4s would have been quite enough there, to be honest. But, right, 16 of 6. You think, oh my gosh, progress, momentum has shifted big in India's favor. And what happens with Hardik on that first ball of Mohammad Nawaz's over? He kind of gets this weird slice type of shot, goes up in the air, and appropriately, the skipper, Babar Azam, takes the catch. Interesting, DJ, I don't know if you guys could tell in the crowd, Kohli was running his heart out to try to be on the other end, be crossed before the catch was taken, but the rule just changed literally a few weeks ago where it wouldn't have mattered. The new batsman was going to be facing. But it just shows you that commitment, that passion from the king, right? But DJ, what is the crowd feeling when it goes to 16 of 5, but DK's coming? He's done this before.
I mean, I'm getting goosebumps literally as you're talking about this. Again, it's Hardik Pandya's territory, right? Left arm spinner. He's just hit the guy for 2 6s in the last over that Nawaz bowled. At that point, I'm thinking, and maybe I've lost my mind, which I clearly had because it was straight after those 2 6s of Kohli, and from needing 28 of 8, you suddenly needed 16 of 6. And at that point, I'm going, Pandya can finish this in 3 balls. Like, dude, it's his day, it's his game. He hits spinners all the time. We were in Birmingham, Varun, when he hit 3 6s in the last over of an ODI game. So he's done it before. But then the ball goes up and it is literally heartbreak. And then imagine the pressure on a guy, right? Walking in, you've been trained for this for 2 years. You're like the finisher guy. Like this is all you do. Like I think Ashwin, you call him the 6 ball specialist. Here he had only 5 balls, and he needed to get 16 or 5. And imagine the pressure on DK coming in, and I think he gets a full toss first ball, which was like waist high or whatever. And of course, Virat wasn't on strike, so um, yeah, it went to 15 or 4. So back to you, I guess.
Yeah. So 16 off 5. The most Karthik can do from his first ball, second ball of the over is a single. Goes to 15 off 4, as DJ said. Kohli gets the next ball. He drives it. It's not the cleanest contact, but he runs that first run so hard. And again, these are the little moments in the game that make the difference. He runs it hard. Dinesh Karthik, 37 years old, gets the call. I was going to say gets the call from his skipper, not his skipper, from his former skipper, from the
It
king.
was Bhag DK. Bhag DK.
He gets the call, and he runs back and makes a full length dive, and they get two. Varun, the next ball is what changed the game, right? Mohammad Nawaz comes running in. Interestingly, and Harsha Bhogle gets a lot of flack on commentary, and for whatever reasons, he says, Mohammad Nawaz, you have, what is it now? I lost track of the math. 15 of 4, 14 of 12 of 3. And he says, don't pull a no ball, don't pull a wide, don't give any free runs. And he comes probably going for a Yorker, goes above the waist to Virat Kohli, who just leans in, takes a step forward and smashes it over the square leg boundary, and immediately looks at the umpire to make sure he does not miss giving that no ball. 6 runs. That would have been, by the way, if it was just a 6. I want to make sure I'm getting all my math right. If it was just
13 of 3. It was 13 of 3.
13 of 3. So it would have become 7 off 2, okay, which is still doable but tough. But the fact that it was a no ball, Varun, made it 6 off of 3 with a free hit. How clutch was Kohli at that point? Gets the full toss and just dispatches it.
Yeah, so look, he got the full toss. It was a great shot. He hit it for 6. Okay, a lot of players would have probably hit it for 4 or mistimed at that point. He hit it for 6. And then this is where the whole debate is, right? He turns immediately, looks at Erasmus and says, that was no ball. Yes, DJ.
Can I just chip in here one more thing? Actually, the one that DK had played, the ball before
that actually looked like a no
DK
ball
got
to
for
me
one.
on TV.
And Kohli had actually asked Erasmus then, was that a no ball? Because he was already getting in his head a little bit there. So I don't know whether this was picked up on television, but the whole crowd was watching Kohli signal to Erasmus, was that a no ball? 2 balls before.
That's great context because that's great context because look, umpire's job is very tough and they're always alert. But just when that has happened 2 balls ago, you're probably a little bit more alert. You're probably staring at Kohli's waist a bit more than you should have. And the thing is, he gave that call just a split second late. That was it. Look, it was a touch and go decision. The foot was on the line. The ball was just at the waistline or above. We've always been taught that the line belongs to the umpire. So if you did DRS it probably would have been umpire's call and still a no ball, right? So it was just touch and go. He just gave the call a split second too late, in my opinion. He should have had that conviction earlier. But yeah, man, that no ball changes it because 7 of 2, like you said, even with a 4, you need another 4. It's not easy.
So 6 off 3 and a free hit coming up. And again, the unfortunate fact that Pakistan have Mohammad Nawaz bowling, balls are wide, right? So interesting, great awareness from Kohli. I think many batters would have chased that with the adrenaline. Ball goes outside the line on the off. He leaves it, gets the wide. 5 needed off of 3 balls, with the next ball being a free hit. Then, so by the way, after the no ball, Babar and the senior Pakistan players spent a long time complaining to the umpires. Fine, they got back to business. Then Kohli misses the ball. He gets bowled, and the ball starts rolling away. Now he honestly, unlike many fans, many of the rest of us, DJ, I don't know how many people in the crowd remembered, but when you bowl a no ball, you get a free hit. If you bowl a wide on the free hit ball, the free hit carries over. The next ball is also a free hit. So the ball hits the stumps and starts rolling away. And the guys start running. and Kohli and DK get 3 runs. 3 runs. And again, the Pakistani players are in uproar. And
Yeah.
the umpires are like, these
And
are the rules. And we have all looked since, and those are the rules. If you can run. And it was totally legal. But how crazy, like
yeah,
of all things to happen in this match, it hit the wickets and they got 3 byes.
yeah.
Unbelievable, right?
And again, the best part is this, right? And it's knowing the rules. It's knowing um, that you can get buys off a free hit because he's bowled. If you look at the video, and I don't know again if there is video of this, I think Shine Shah Afridi, who's fielding at short third man, he's running in to celebrate with the bowler. That's why he's run in the wrong
Oh,
direction. And then he's run back. That's allowed DK to come back for the third. And it's these tiny margins that make a huge difference in the end. Shaheen's running in because I was actually, I was at, like, we were behind third man at that point. So we could see him go in, and you've seen these guys take off. And it's your training. Varun, you mentioned the six that Kohli hit, right? Like, a lot of people may have fluffed that line, but being calm under pressure, and that calmness comes from your training and trusting that training. And all that's where it's paid off, right? Those 3 runs again, it was just brilliant, and the crowd's going wild. We knew that they were runs. I don't know why the Pakistan team were protesting. These were totally legitimate runs to be had.
yeah. I mean, it's a little bit crazy. Everybody was making sure the rules are what they are. Not that this is the right time to bring this up, but the chaos of Shaheen kind of running in to celebrate while the ball was running took me back to the 2007 World Cup for some reason, and like the bowl out and how the
Oh
Pakistan bowlers
man,
were all like running hard to bowl, and Dhoni's just standing there on his knees, just saying, "Just give the ball to Sehwag
it's
and bowl it straight." Something
it's
took me back, and I don't know
this
why.
is on record. I think the best ball I have ever seen in cricket was Umar Gul's second delivery in that bowl out.
Yeah, just
He came,
perfectly
it
outside
was
off.
like Glenn McGrath line outside the off stump and just carried on outside the off stump. It just feels like somebody forgot to tell him that you got to hit the stump.
Yeah,
And
you don't.
so the Pakistani players just switched off, man. Like they just switched off when that bold happened. Rizwan was like running up and you know what? Like it's okay. This is not just 1 second, DJ. This is not about Pakistan switching off. Anyone can switch off. When Hardik Pandya hit the ball up in the air, Kohli ran. I mean, I thought he was about to dive to cross Pandya, right? So that I
Although
get
the rule
strike, and
has
then and then suddenly Kohli is like, "Oh, the rule has changed."
changed.
So it's not about Pakistan, the team losing context or losing the situation. It can happen to the best of us, but yes, it's like feels like a Priyadarshan movie at the end if Shaheen is running towards the wicket and then he has to go the other way.
Yeah, so just one more thing actually, and this becomes relevant later. Why is Nawaz bowling seam up? Was there any context to that on commentary? I don't know, because the keeper was standing back, and this becomes relevant in the next ball. But do we know why Nawaz was bowling seamers, or because he's a
Because I
spinner,
think
right?
it was, I think the question was, that's a fantastic point. I think it came down to spin should not be the 20th over. Okay. And I think they've got all these like horrors of the past with Saeed Ajmal bowling that last over to Michael Hussey. So I think
Hussey.
spin should not be bowled at the path. And then the second is I think they just wanted to ensure that no buys are given behind the keeper. So they wanted Rizwan to stand a little back. Now, again, not wrong strategy, but man, here is a number 5 bowler. You have gone in without a sixth bowling option. He's look, he's not a bad bowler, but he's clearly your weakest. You've now gone and told him in the most pressure over of his life, change the way you've been bowling.
Yeah, don't bowl to your strength, right? Like, yeah.
A-
It makes
and
no
you know what?
sense.
If he was bowling spin and the keeper was up, or even if the keeper was up, maybe the no ball would not have been given. That fact that he was bowling seamers and the keeper was back, maybe that counted against him. I don't know for that no ball, right? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
But
not
these
even
are
going
all
to
the
the. Yeah,
small kind
I'm
of.
not going to the ruling, the umpire and stuff. But I was like, you probably wouldn't have bowled a no ball as a spinner because this is what you do. You've been asked to do something that's unnatural, and the ball went higher than it meant to. But, but, if you're with us and you followed the journey of us reliving ball by ball from 28 off 8 to now 2 off 2 with DK on strike, you think, gosh, 28 off 8, 2 off 2, this match is done. Let's start celebrating. People were probably in Team India fans were probably drafting their tweets as to what am I going to say? How am I going to celebrate the brilliance of King Kohli that got us from that crazy position here? And at 2 of 2, Dinesh Karthik decides to charge down the track for some reason. It hits his pad and goes. And honestly, some great work from Rizwan behind the stumps. Grabs it, gets him stumped. Now, there were some questions because Rizwan did collect the ball in front of the stumps, which is not allowed for a traditional stumping. But when it hit Dinesh Karthik's pad, it didn't matter. It was absolutely legal, absolutely fair. But you're thinking 2 from 2. Dinesh just needs to get some sort of bat or pad or something. Kohli would have been lightning fast and gotten to the other end. At least you've tied it up. At that point, it's gone from 2 from 2 from 2 has become 2 from 1. And Ravi Chandran Ashwin walks in. A bowler who can bat. Yeah, he can bat more than most bowlers. Varun, I said this to you guys earlier. 2 from 1. And Nawaz bowls it maybe a hair and maybe like 2 inches outside of Ashwin's right toe. And it just goes down the leg stump. But maybe one of my favorite memories of the match is the kind of the chill Ashwin raising his arms and just letting the wide go by. Like, I would have been so nervous. Most of us would have tried to swing at whatever to get 2 from 1 or at least get 1. Like, Ashwin just showed up and left the ball. How great was that?
I mean, he's a smart player, and we don't talk about it enough. He's a smart player. The only thing that we were saying at that point is just don't hit an aerial shot, right? Don't give them the chance to get out. Because, okay, worst case, you go into a super over. How much I wish worst case was going into a bowl out against Pakistan. But the worst case would have been a super over. And you'll take it, man. At this stage, you'll take it in a tough game. I just want to say I was so disappointed with Dinesh Karthik, man. You don't do that. Like, I get it. It's tough. This is your job. It's very tough. I have full sympathy for you to come in and play 4 balls or 3 balls every match. But, man, with 2 of 2 required, you don't have to play that shot. So that was bad. But Ashwin, man, calm head, just came in and that white ball was fantastic.
So do you guys remember who else got run out like that in a World Cup in 1996 in a semi-final? That's the exact dismissal that happened to Sachin Tendulkar in the 96 World Cup semi-final. And I had so much trauma. Do you remember that? He went off his pad, Sachin took off for a run, and little Kalu went, and we went from 96 for 2 to 120 for 8. And I was just sitting there with my hand in my head going, I can't go through this again in my life. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm running out of kind of words to say. I think obviously last ball, Ashwin again just thinking about taking the single, just takes a step away, lofts it over the mid-on. The fielders come in to avoid the single, and they get that run. And we got to sit there saying the openers failed. Akshar Patel failed with ball and bat. Hardik Pandya ended up being a great partner for Kohli, but at 82 runs off of 53 balls. I think, I mean, even after all the hype has died down, even after 12 hours later, my heart rate's kind of back to normal, maybe slightly elevated. DJ, is this the greatest T20 chase you've seen by an individual player from 31 for 4 to take it home?
It has to be. It has to be the greatest T20I innings that I have watched. Not even in person, just I'm sure you guys will be on board with this. I think Australia at Mohali was probably at the best one I'd seen before that. But then Kohli, 82 of 53 in Melbourne, scoring more than half the runs from a position where we were 31 for 4. I mean, just absolutely incredible, absolutely unbelievable. I think I said it on Instagram. So what a time, what a place, what a player. No words, no words. King Kohli, bow to him.
Varun, sometimes sport and World Cups and cricket, sometimes you see a performance that kind of just transcends all of that and is a little bit bigger than that. And it just felt like the way Kohli at the press conference said, it feels right. right? This feels right. And Rohit picks him up and celebrates. And there's something about watching Kohli when Ashwin, by the way, hits the four and runs a different direction. You'd think he runs towards Kohli to hug, but he runs away. And Kohli's like down on the ground holding his bat and like punching with so much aggression, just finally letting that adrenaline out. By the way, sorry, last thought. DK's panic and the way he came down and you said you were disappointed, to me, just exemplified just how much of a genius Virat is. Because it would be completely acceptable at 20 out of 8 to try to step down and mishit it and get, they just showed me how brilliant it was. But yeah, sorry, to my original question, sometimes innings like this just transcend sport a little, right?
Yeah, I'd never seen anything like this. I mean, like I said, that Mohali game was it for me. I was like, this is as good as it's ever going to get. It's also probably as good as it's ever going to get for Kohli, because for the last 3 years, he hasn't showed up, man. It's been tough. Like the class has been there, but he just hasn't been there. The thing is, the greatest moment in Indian cricketing history over the last 3 to 5 years was Gabba, and Kohli wasn't even there, right? So he had to do this, and he had to do it. And I don't know, man. I just now at the end of this podcast, suddenly I feel like I don't know what to say anymore, because I've just never seen an innings like that. And just one last call out from my side is, man, that Rohit and Virat camaraderie, like, we got to talk about that. He came on running onto the pitch. He lifted up Kohli on his back. Harsha Bhogle was like, be careful of your back there, Rohit, be careful of your back. But man, I think this is their team. I think that's what we're going to realize, that over the last 10 years, the two consistent people who've been there are Rohit and Virat. They haven't won a World Cup yet. They're trying it together. At the start, DJ, I don't know if you could see this or not in the ground, but Virat was addressing the team. He was giving the pep talk. He was talking about what we need to do when we go out there. It is that just the whole emotion just came together when I saw Rohit and Kohli together as well.
Yeah, it's a powerful moment. I mean, it just wasn't. That's exactly what I mean, and what we've been saying about how it transcends sport a little bit. I think everybody's been saying I was wrong to question Kohli, etc. I think he is cemented. I don't think he needed this. I don't think he needed to do anything more to cement his place as maybe the greatest of all time. But I think he still did it. And he showed up, and it's a long World Cup, and we hope Rohit shows up next and Rahul does find some form. And, India spinners, Varun, step up, do better than we thought. But congratulations to Team India. Congratulations to Kohli, to all of you guys who've relived this with us. And happy Diwali to everybody. I mean, what better way to celebrate this incredible day? What a phenomenal occasion. I'm gonna wrap up this episode. We've gone on long, and we haven't talked about England's early win and New Zealand's incredible win against Australia. We will cover all that next week. This week was just all about the King and the King being back. So thank you all for joining. DJ is pointing to his flag, the seal on the jersey. If you haven't already, please engage with us at One Tip One Hand. We have just loved engaging with all of you on all social media during the World Cup. And we'll be back next week to talk more about many games, potentially a KL Rahul century against the Netherlands, and lots of great stuff happening. So this has been the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the 99.94 DM network. Thank you very much for joining us.